Have you ever wanted to play a card game with you and your friends where you try and best one another using your own creation? If so, the format of Commander and Magic the Gathering might be for you. I personally have been playing Magic for quite some time now, and I've made friends and even played with family. I have played hundreds of games and have made dozens of decks, which is what you use to play. The purpose of this speech is to demonstrate how to play a game of Commander. I will start out with basic rules and knowledge of Magic the Gathering and move on to how to play a game of Commander. So how does one play Magic the Gathering? The basic rules from the Magic the Gathering website says that Magic the Gathering is a resource game, meaning that you need resources or lands to play spells. There are 5 lands. There is Forest for green, Mountain for red, Island for blue, Swamp for black, and Plains for white. Now, to use the resources, you need to tap that land, and you can only play 1 land per turn. Going further, Magic the Gathering is also a turn-based game. But let's move on and look at an actual Magic card and see how we would cast it. This spell only needs 1 white mana to cast it, meaning you would just tap 1 Plains. This one, however, has what's known as 2 colorless, meaning any color can pay for it, and the 1 white mana that can be played by Plains. But let's move on to what kinds of cards there are in the game. We will start out with creatures. All cards can be identified by the name down right there. Creatures can either attack for damage or block to prevent damage. Their power and toughness are on the lower right hand of the card, and power is on the left and toughness is on the right. But let's move on to an example of where a creature would block an attacking creature. Both creatures will deal damage to each other, and the toughness will decide if they survive or not, where both of these creatures would die as their toughness would become 0. And the next card type are enchantments, which are cards that stay on the battlefield, known as permanents, and usually bring a benefit throughout the whole game. The next are artifacts, which are also permanents, like enchantments and creatures, where they usually are colorless and produce mana. Then we have sorceries, which are non-permanents, where they have a one-time effect, and once when they resolve, they go to the graveyard. Sorceries can only be played on your turn. Instants are like sorceries, but they can be played on anyone's turn. But let's move on to the kind of zones in Magic the Gathering. There is the battlefield, where your permanents and lands stay. There's a graveyard, where once your permanents get destroyed or your instants and sorceries resolve, enter. And there's a library, where your cards and deck are held. Then we must go into the steps of each turn, where there's the untap step, where you untap your lands and permanents. The upkeep phase, where some permanents have a trigger that bring you a benefit. There's a draw phase, where you draw your 1 card per turn. Main phase 1, where you can cast your permanents and sorceries. The attack phase, where you decide whether or not you attack with a creature. Main phase 2, which is just like main phase 1, but after the attack phase. And the end step, which is where you discard down to 7 cards in hand at the end of your turn if you have more. Now, I know this might seem like a lot, but you can get the hang of it with some friends, and we'll just jump right into how to play a game of Commander. So, the Commander rules on the Magic the Gathering website is just a little bit different than the one stated above. There are 3 other players, so 4 including you, and every player draws 7 cards to start the game, and whoever goes first is decided by a dice roll on who gets the highest number. Now, the website states that Commander is a 99 card deck where every card needs to have a different name, and they must follow a commander's identity. Commanders can be any legendary creature, and since these are green, black, and blue together, the cards in the deck need to be a combination of the 2 or any colors of those. So finally, we'll jump into the life totals, where every player starts out with 40, and how to lose the game. Your life total can become 0. You can have no more cards in your library, or you can have cards that specifically state you win the game. I hope this has been descriptive enough, and not too overwhelming, and I hope maybe some of you guys might play. In conclusions, it is a great way to get friends together and have a great time, and I hope everyone learned how to play a game of Commander.